Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Careful for Spoilers. I am your host James Barnes, and today guys I'm joined once again by my co-host Lola and Brad as we wrap up our Terminator series with Terminator Rise of the Machines, Terminator Salvation, and Terminator Genisys. On this episode we'll be talking about our positives, our negatives about all three movies, and our anticipation for Terminator Dark Fate. Now before we dive into the episode, I would love to talk to you guys about our new show, Best One, Worst One. It's our Patreon exclusive show where we take a look at your favorite movies, actors, directors, and a variety of other topics, and we ask you to choose the best one and the worst one. Our first episode on Keanu Reeves is available for free right now on all podcast platforms, and weekly episodes are available every Monday for patrons at the $3 tier or higher. So head on over to patreon.com/C4Spoilers to listen to our newest episodes and to get more exclusive content. Now, without further ado, let's talk about the last three Terminator movies.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, so let's talk about Terminator Rise of the Machines. Now, the plot of this film: John Connor has been living completely off the grid since the events of Terminator 2, and Skynet has sent the TX back in time to kill his lieutenants and anyone who would later help John Connor in his rise against the machines. Now, what do you guys think of the overall plot of this film?
Honestly, I think the overall plot of this film is not bad.
Yeah,
right?
The idea is good.
Yeah, like it is a good skeleton of an idea. Mm-hmm. You know, but like it doesn't have any muscles or skin or anything that like would make it a person. It's just the skeleton, and it's not bad. Like, and then there's the movie, but the plot is not that bad.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can say that for all three movies, though. Like, I feel like the concept is actually great.
The ideas
but the
are there.
execution is just, it's terrible.
Terrible.
So let's talk about some positives. What positives do you guys have from Rise of the Machines? Brad, let's start with you.
I thought it was pretty badass whenever she burst through the cop's chest and started driving the car. that was pretty cool. Other than that, the implications of "you remind me of my mother" that made me laugh.
That's
don't think negatives. It was supposed to make me laugh, but I had a good time with that. Most of my notes are things like this is a slap in the face to the originals. Super early 2000s in a bad way. Car chase scenes go on way too long. The whole talk to the hand thing,
oh my god,
completely fails, as does all of the humor in this movie for me.
Because it's so dated.
Yeah, it's super dated.
Yeah. And I guess because he's a robot, it's supposed to be funny that a robot is saying something like that, but it just doesn't work.
Well, and also we're now in 2019, and so talk to the hand, like even as a nostalgic joke, is no longer funny. Like like you said, it's so early 2000s in the worst way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got that same feel that you get with all of these like XXX and early 2000s action movies that felt like they had to have a comedic edge to them and everything, and all of the jokes just seem so of the time.
In like the worst possible way that you could ever do it.
Like, in the broiest way.
Yeah, nobody thought Talk to the Hand was going to be part of our culture for years to come. Like, we hadn't created some amazing comeback with Talk to the Hand. Like, my mom said it for the last time 3 years ago. So, you know it's dead.
Do you have any more good things to say about Rise of the Machines?
Kristanna Loken is pretty.
But also terrible.
Terrible, yes.
I feel like she was trying to channel the T-1000.
Yeah,
how,
Robert
like,
Patrick.
Robotic but smooth in a way, and it just
she
doesn't
went
work.
like sassy though. Like she had way too much emotion for a robot.
Yeah.
Like, she looked pissed off sometimes, but not in a like, oh, my mission is failing, but in a like, I'm going to slap him in the mouth if he does that again way. It didn't work. And I read that she took mime classes for it.
Okay.
Because she has, like, no lines.
Yeah.
Which is probably better for all of us, because
Probably.
I've seen some of her other work, and it is not good.
Not surprised.
Did y'all ever play that video game Blood Rain?
Yeah, she was in
She was the
Uwe
star
Boll
in the
movie.
Blood Rain movie.
We don't talk about it.
Uwe Boll, I feel, is like an off-limits thing because every one of his films is just an
Trash.
absolute travesty.
Trash.
Yeah.
Trash.
Lola, what are your positives for this movie?
Okay, so first off, I can't wait for you guys to come for me on this. I think Claire Danes is just so charming.
Yeah, I love Claire
Oh my
Danes.
god, I love her so much. I love that that this is a movie in which most of the leads dropped out after production had started. So Edward Furlong dropped out for personal issues, i.e. drugs. Right when the movie started, and Nick Stahl got pulled into it. And Sophia Bush was originally cast.
What?
Yes, let that happen to you for a second. Sophia Bush was originally cast as Kate Brewster, who goes on to become John Connor's wife and like basically co-lead of the Resistance. And they pulled Claire Danes in, and she had like the plane ride to learn her part. And she said it actually worked out really well, because my character has no idea what's going on, and I had no idea what was going on the whole time I was on the set. And I was like, I love it. I love you. I thought she was super charming. She was trying so hard, and not in a bad way, but in a good way, to act like she was sexually attracted to Nick Stahl's drug-addicted ferret version of John Connor. And I thought she did a really good job.
Interesting. Okay.
I did like the kind of basic plot. I think that's kind of a positive. It is a cool idea that the Terminators, as they keep failing to assassinate John Connor, would then decide to go back in time and just assassinate his team. You know what I mean? That's like being like, oh, okay, well, Captain America keeps winning, so we're going to assassinate Bucky Barnes and Falcon, and we're going to get them out of there. Like, that's a smart thing. So the movie has those two positives.
So I actually have a couple more positives on this movie. So the biggest positive that I've come up with, that you guys all said, is the concept of this film. I think watching Skynet slowly take over throughout this entire film, they started with taking over the internet, air traffic control, power plants, guidance systems, missile silos, submarines, all throughout this film. They're slowly taken over before you see the final attack. I thought that was actually really, really cool. I thought Arnold was fine. Maybe the dialogue that was written for him, the scenes that were written for him, wasn't that great, but I think he's always consistently great in this role. I love the fact that this film drives the fact that that Judgment Day it's inevitable.
Yes,
This is
like
a
that.
fixed point in time. This is something that has to happen, and they just don't get it until the film is over. And I do like that. Watching the bombs fall at the end, that was really terrifying. Like, they're safe, they're fine, but so many people are dying. Millions of people are dying during this explosion. And anytime Arnold fought the TX, I was having fun with it. I like watching the Terminators fight each other. I guess.
I like the thing with the coffin too, like being filled with all of the guns and everything, and then Nick Stahl being in the coffin.
Oh, you mean Sarah Connor's coffin?
Yeah.
The biggest negative in the movie.
Exactly.
But yeah, there were some cool scenes. I will say, though, that the Terminator versus Terminator fight in the bathroom was one of the worst things I've ever seen. Edited wise, CGI wise, like, it just was awful. And also her outfit.
Yeah.
She can be anything she wants to be, and she chooses to be wearing a red pleather pantsuit. Like she's going to like a strip club business meeting. It was awful.
it was really, really bad.
Really bad. It was like kind of snakeskin too. Like there was some kind of a pattern on that vinyl that you only see when you're paying for something illegal.
It's like this came out in 2009. Like, I don't know.
But it feels like 2001.
Yeah.
That's the craziest thing about the movie.
Terminator 3 came out in 2002. 2002, I thought.
Yeah,
It did. I'm sorry. I'm looking at...
You're looking at, I think,
2003.
Salvation.
I'm looking at the release date for something else. I'm sorry. Because on that note, the director of this movie directed the movie Surrogates. Do you guys remember that movie?
With Bruce Willis?
With Bruce Willis.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Where it's like, there's pretty much like clones of people.
Should I see this film?
Maybe?
If James gives me a maybe, I know I don't want to see it, because he's just like, I found positives.
There's not that many.
It's one of those movies that Bruce Willis just showed up for.
Oh, okay, yeah. Bruce Willis needs a new condo movie.
Yeah.
Fun fact, the people that wrote the screenplay for this movie wrote the screenplay for Salvation, Catwoman, and The Game, directed by David Fincher, which is actually a good movie.
Yeah, The Game is awesome.
Yeah, so it's like, I was like, that's interesting.
And the plot for Terminator Salvation's not that bad.
Yeah.
And the plot, again, the plot for this film is not that bad. They just put people in it and made it a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. So let's get into our negatives. Brad, again, let's start with you.
So, I hate the strip club scene in the beginning. I think it's so ridiculous. I do not think that all of those women would be reacting the way that they do react to Arnold walking completely naked through the room.
Oh, Brad, you don't know how women act when they're alone in a room. No, you are correct, actually. You are actually correct.
I feel like that would be slightly terrifying.
I would be frightened. He's so huge.
Yeah.
And he walks in from the street naked, and you're just like, okay, man.
I love that the doorman, though, is like, you're supposed to go around back. Like,
Do strippers show up naked to their jobs? Someone is walking towards you swinging penis, and you're not at all concerned.
It's the job.
I think that the ultimate sin of this movie, though, is that it's just super forgettable. Like, I'd seen it multiple times, and it was like I was watching it again for the first time. Like, I think that there's so many just lame parts to the movie. I don't like whenever Arnold says, "I'm back."
Yeah.
She'll
be back.
Yeah,
I'm back.
Yeah, it's
like, I'm going to turn this off and not be back.
Yeah, and like I said before, I feel like it's just so stuck in its time. I feel like it's just not aged well in any way, shape, or form.
Lola, what about you? Do you have any?
Do I have any negatives? I think Nick Stahl is a negative. Mm-hmm. I had never in my life thought that they would be able to cast so poorly for John Connor. He is whiny. He is more frightened than I would think the child of Sarah Connor would be. Mm-hmm. He is clumsy. He falls a lot more than even I do. And I fall all of the time, you guys. I don't have any real idea of Nick Stahl as an actor. I have not watched a lot of things he's been in. I don't think overall his acting was that bad, but the choices he made and the fact that he looks like a drug-addicted ferret was not helpful. And when I say, like, he had bags under his eyes that were obviously done by the makeup team, and I think they used the wrong brown eyeshadow sometimes because there was glitter in it, which was awkward.
Maybe he's just got really sweaty eyes.
It was like he had been in that all-male strip club in the beginning of the movie. If you're gonna put John Connor in the film as an adult, you need to make him a strong character. Mm-hmm. I thought killing Sarah Connor off screen was just unforgivable.
With cancer.
With cancer, yeah. I mean, she could have been. There could be some story that you don't see of, her getting into a fight with a Terminator that came back or something and killed her. I don't know. Anything would have been better than that. I did not like the fact that Claire Danes' hair was a different color from scene to scene.
I did not notice that.
She's basically blonde in the first scene where she's like registering with her fiance, who they kill off, and they expect you to be like, that's fine, because we all want her to hook up with John Connor. Like, there was no like character developed there at all.
So I'll get into that in my negatives. I'm sorry. I was
Yeah,
starting to get
she was
upset.
like blonde, then she was like dark red, she was light red, she was dark red. It takes me out of the movie when someone's hair keeps changing because I know immediately you've had to do so many reshoots because this film is not working.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem I had with the film, that's a lie. The biggest problem I have with the film is John Connor. Another problem I had with the film was the bad Terminator. I will admit that I always thought it was referred to as a Terminatrix in the film.
I mean, that's what they called it. But then they shorted it to the TX.
Is it really called the Terminatrix?
Yeah.
Or
Oh my
I thought
God.
maybe, like, that is problematic, you guys.
That's why it's short as TX, because it was called the Terminatrix.
So, like, okay, we're going to give you a female Terminator. We're going to make her name derivative of Dominatrix. Like, she's going to take mime classes and still fail. The idea that she can control cars by basically some kind of nanotech virus leads me to believe that no one who worked on this film has ever worked on a car because it's not how cars work. But
they have computers in them, so therefore a Terminator from the future can hack it.
One of those cars was like a 1978 Chevelle. Like, they did not have a computer in it. Like, the cop cars, totally, right? But the big rig and stuff, like, no.
Yeah.
They managed to make a car chase scene so boring to me.
And you're all about car chase
And they're my
scenes.
favorite,
Yeah.
man. Like, so, overall, I think the worst thing for me watching the movie was just thinking, man, this could have been better. You know, the plot was there. Like, the skeleton of a good script was there. I just think no one wanted to admit that they shouldn't move forward with it.
Yeah, because
like,
I mean, this movie costs a lot of money.
It costs a lot of money. And it wasn't a huge bomb. Like, it did make the money back.
Yeah.
But I do know that Arnold Schwarzenegger said, I'm not going to do a movie without James Cameron. And finally, James Cameron was like, just take the money and run. And to me, that sums up the film. They took their money and they ran.
Yeah. This movie cost $200 million to make.
Good Lord.
There's parts of me wondering, well, what did they really spend it on besides Arnold's paycheck?
Arnold's paycheck was, again, bigger than it was for T2, which, if you've listened to that podcast, that his budget for T2 was out of control.
Yeah, because I mean, besides the TX, and you get some small glimpses of the robots that Skynet will eventually make, what else is there really to spend money on?
I did read that they put like $11 million into that one scene in the car chase where the crane goes through the wall of glass for that building, which, as I'm telling, I can tell no one in this room actually remembers that scene.
I remember but
it's not an $11 million scene.
I guess because they had to partially destroy a building?
Yes, man.
You spend
Unless
that
4
much,
people
you should
died.
be able to remember it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like in T2 when they're attacking the police station at the end of it, and that's the most memorable scene, and that's the most expensive scene in the movie, and that makes sense. Having a Terminator who grows her boobs to distract a police officer doesn't make sense. I mean, she could just kill him.
It's so stupid and misogynistic.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. It's like, oh, she looks like a woman, so therefore she would use her sexuality to get out of a ticket. No, she's a fucking murder bot, and she would kill him and take the gun and leave.
Everyone else she just murders immediately. This guy she grows her boobs for.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't make sense
at all. Yeah. So did you have any more negatives?
Just the movie.
Same.
Yeah, we're good here.
So my biggest negative is Nick Stahl as John Connor. I get what they were going for in the sense that you still want to see a person that is still growing and learning from his experiences to become the leader that we know he's supposed to be. I get it, but that guy should still have some kind of charisma, something for the character, so the audience can latch onto, and he just doesn't have it whatsoever. I feel like
praying for a different resistance leader the whole movie.
Yeah, and it's like the dialogue is wooden. The dialogue is absolutely fucking terrible. I don't know why Kate Brewster had to have a husband when you know she ends up with John at the end. What was the point?
What was the point of that?
He dies he doesn't die off screen, but he dies away from her. She's not even there to get the emotional blow from it, even though she does see the TX like turn into her husband, but she doesn't even see it. And then 15 minutes later, and I counted 15 minutes later, she's already flirting with John Connor in the back of a truck. So it's like, what was the point then?
Exactly.
That's worse than the 2 years that Marion had to get over Robin Hood.
I'm like, it's 15 minutes. You just found out that a robot from the future came back in time and killed your husband because your fiance, because you're supposed to be the future wife of the leader of the resistance. It's just it doesn't matter.
And she's like, well, all right then. I guess so.
Like,
somebody told me to do it.
There's a scene at the end where they're at the military base, and this goes back to the wooden bad dialogue. Someone says, "We've lost contact," and Kate's dad's like, "Dear God, are you saying that this country is open to attack?" And someone else says, "We could already be under attack." I'm like, what the fuck is this? What kind of movie is this? What's happening?
You know, one of those scientists is Chris Hardwick.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't notice.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's a chubby Chris Hardwick in there.
That's right. I believe he's the guy that says we've lost contact.
Yeah.
I think that's him. Holy shit.
Well, good for him, man.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Another one of my negatives was them killing off Sarah Connor with cancer. That's what they do with every character that won't come back for a sequel. Oh, they died of cancer. Or in a plane crash. It's so stupid.
Or an opioid overdose.
Or
if you're Roseanne.
a training accident. That's a big one, too, for anyone who's been like a soldier. Oh, they died in a training accident.
Yeah.
The aliens are coming back, though.
And the fact that John Connor in this movie thinks that this new T-800 would actually remember him. You saw him get melted to nothing.
Yeah.
Why would this model remember you? You know they come off an assembly line.
Well,
Why would it remember you?
Well, and also the fact that this Terminator, this T-800, admits to having killed John Connor in 2032.
Yeah.
And his wife sent him back. You're like, I don't want to know that. I don't want to know that John Connor got murdered in the future by the Terminator he loves and thinks of as a father because he has severe mental issues. Anybody would, given what he's been through. But it just... And that scene was such a throwaway scene. Like, you say that John Connor's been assassinated in the future, and so his wife has now sent a Terminator back. They don't even say to protect him from being assassinated in the future.
I mean, kind of, because its mission is to protect both of them.
Yeah. It takes its orders from Kate. I love that part, though, I will say. Yeah, the movie, it just doesn't achieve anything.
Yeah, it really doesn't, except the fact that it shows that Judgment Day is inevitable.
Yeah, that I did like.
You know, right at the end, Kate's dad, I refuse to look up his name because I honestly don't care.
Yeah.
Kate's dad, he has this scene where he's talking about, like, who could this be? Who's hacking us? Could it be some hacker in his basement? Could it be some foreign country? And in that moment, one of the prototypes for the hunter killers comes into frame with like the red eyes and it's staring right at him. I thought that was kind of cool, the symbolism behind it. Again, the concept of this movie is really, really cool, but the execution is absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it's real bad. And I think I would like to blame Nick Stahl.
Yes.
Yes.
Because he does not help this movie.
A lot of it rests on his shoulders, for
Which
sure.
I think is why he did not return for Salvation. Mm-hmm. It's funny because there's this line in Salvation that gets repeated over and over, like, do you think people deserve a second chance? And I think Nick Stahl knew his answer was no. Yeah. He did not deserve a second chance at John Connor.
I don't know. Do you guys have any final thoughts on Rise of the Machines before we move on to Salvation?
Yeah.
I think we summed it up. I don't think anybody should see it.
Nah.
But if it's on TNT, maybe. I don't know. It's not the worst film you'll ever see, but it's not something you should ever pay money for.
There's not even like something that I like a scene that I would say like watch it just for this scene. Like,
unless you like robots whose boobs grow for no reason. If that's something that's
there's a market there.
There's a market for that. That's in there.
Yeah, and Brad, you already talked about it, but I do want to talk about the scene. But the scene where Kate gets up, she shoots the hunter killer, and he's looking at her, and he's like, "You remind me of my mother." Just everything that every woman wants to hear, that their love interest thinks that you remind them of their mother.
I would block my fiance's number if he said that.
And it's like, we're supposed to feel like, oh, she's a really strong woman, like Sarah Connor.
So
she's
many
gonna
other
be
lines,
cool.
though.
I'm like, why?
Even if he had just looked up at her with admiration on his face and said, "That was badass." That scene would have played so much better than "You remind me of my mother. I cannot wait to have intercourse with you later this evening."
Right?
Like, what?
And then another thing, why did they have to know each other from the past? You know what I mean?
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I did really like that, though. Actually,
But
you remind me.
wouldn't it be better if they were just two complete strangers that found out they were going to fall in love and get married?
No, I
and
actually
then
like
they ended
it.
up doing it?
Because he says if they made out that night, he probably would have dated her. And then he would have met her father. And it was always about her father setting off Skynet. So it was like showing the inevitability of Skynet. I did actually like that part.
Okay, that's a fair point.
But also it would have worked the other way because it wasn't well explained.
Yeah.
Like, Brad, what do you think?
I just don't like this movie. it's a tough watch. It's got so many scenes that made me just roll my eyes, and scenes that were supposed to either be played for comedy or for like, oh shit, that's so cool, but none of it is cool.
Yeah, at all. All right, guys. I think we've spent enough time on Terminator Rise of the Machines. Let's talk about Terminator Salvation. Now, this movie was directed by Mick G., who directed the two Charlie's Angels movies.
And like a slew of like music videos for Sublime.
Lots of music videos. This was released on May 21st, 2009. Had a 33% on Rotten Tomatoes, which, watching it for this review, I don't think it deserved.
Yeah, I mean,
I think 33% is a little bit low. This also costs like $200 million, but this movie looks like it cost $200 million.
it has it like does really look super good.
Yeah, unlike Rise of the Machines. And Danny Elfman did the score for this movie.
Yeah.
And I loved the use of the Terminator music in the film because T3 didn't really utilize the Terminator music much at all.
Yeah, I mean, there were renditions of it, but I mean, it wasn't good.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Yeah, and it's not good in Genisys either, but I'm jumping ahead. But let's get into
Nothing's good in Genisys.
let's get into the plot of this movie. So, Terminator Salvation follows adult John Connor as he attempts to organize the human resistance that will become mankind's last hope in defeating the machines. Now, this movie takes place in the year 2018, obviously after the bombs have fallen, and we are living in the ruins of Earth and under the rule of the machines. Now, Lola, let's start with you. What are your positives from Terminator Salvation?
You know, I actually really enjoyed Terminator Salvation. I actually think it's a good movie. The thing about Terminator Salvation that I think might have led to it having such a low score on Rotten Tomatoes is that I think people wanted a very traditional Terminator movie with all the elements like Arnold in it and time travel in it and all of this stuff. But this movie is not that. This movie is John Connor's story, John Connor's world. And I loved it. I'd always wanted to see what it looked like with the Terminator. Like, what did they run from? You know what I mean? I think Christian Bale's John Connor is 100% what I want from John Connor. Like, I don't have any problem in the world with Christian Bale as John Connor.
So you want John Connor to be Batman?
I didn't feel like he was being Batman in this film.
Really? Okay.
There was one line he gave that I kind of thought had a little bit of his Batman voice, but I honestly, like, I didn't think of him as Batman in it. I loved his ruggedness, his toughness, his whole thing. A huge pro for me was Anton Yelchin as Kyle Reese.
Yes. I
loved him. I loved that this movie focused on saving Kyle Reese so that Kyle Reese could then go back in time and be John Connor's dad and then get murdered there. Okay, but let's not think about that. I liked the idea of Sam Worthington's character. This part human, part robot that doesn't know he's a robot. I think that is the best infiltration unit we've seen in any of the Terminator movies. He was amazing.
Definitely.
And if Sam Worthington ever didn't act a scene pretty well, like he kind of didn't do a good job, you'd be like, oh, well, he's part robot, so it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, we had a built-in escape clause for when Worthington doesn't hit his mark. And I thought it looked amazing. The apocalyptic wasteland that they presented was beautiful. The fact that Resistance Command is on a submarine was such a good idea. And Bryce Dallas Howard as John Connor's wife, as Kate Brewster, she nailed it. And I didn't realize, but I think I might be in love with her.
She's amazing.
She's so good in everything I've ever seen her in.
She kills it in Rocket Man.
Yeah, she does. I have to see this film.
So good in Rocket Man.
And I love the fact that I really thought she was actually pregnant in the film. because it was so good, and she had just given birth. So she just looked really, really pregnant. And I get annoyed when people look fake pregnant in movies. Like, they're skinny everywhere and then have this pop belly. So I don't have a lot of negatives.
Okay.
I really enjoy this film.
Yeah. Brad, what about you?
Yeah, I think Anton Yelchin is fantastic as Kyle Reese. I love him in everything that he was in. Rest in peace to him. Cause
that sucks, man.
Yeah, it's such a sad story. I think that Christian Bale does a good job as John Connor, as being the kind of commander that his mother believed that he was going to become. He's got a very, like, do what I say mentality, but at the same time, he sympathizes with his soldiers. I love the apocalyptic vibe and the whole, like, Mad Max feel to the world and everything, but it doesn't feel like it's ripping off Mad Max. It's its own thing. The motorcycle Terminators are fucking
so cool.
badass.
I forgot about them.
They are so cool. And the chase scene with the motorcycles is fantastic.
Yeah.
I like the twist about Marcus, but I wish that hadn't been ruined in the trailers. It's just crazy to me that they put that in the trailers as a main focal point of it, because if I had gone into this movie without knowing that would have been like total mind-blowing moment. Like, oh my God, so they have infiltrator models now, like this, that are actually still part human. This is crazy.
The Terminator franchise has ruined the twist of every movie since T2.
With their stupid
They gave up the trailer
trailers.
that Arnold was coming back in time to save John Connor in the trailer.
Yeah.
In Rise of the Machines, I can't remember exactly what it was because I haven't seen the trailer in a long time, but like you just said, with Salvation 2, they give away that Marcus is an infiltration unit.
They do it again in the Genisys trailer.
Yeah, they gave away. They
well.
gave away that Sarah Connors was aware that he was coming back for,
and that John Connor was turned into the T-3000.
Oh, Jesus,
it's in the trailer.
I don't even want to talk about it.
So, but yeah, we'll get there. But sorry, Brad, go ahead.
I think that it does have some cheesy dialogue in it, which I feel like is kind of unavoidable in sci-fi movies some of the time,
and franchises as well, because there's always callbacks.
Yeah,
the callbacks are pretty good in this, though, right?
But yeah, I think that overall this is a solid entry in the Terminator franchise.
Okay. Yeah, for me, much like you, I love the Terminator bikes. Those were really cool. I love seeing the actual war. This is the Terminator movie that I've always wanted. I've always wanted to see what life is like for the people living in the war. Those people who were born after everything happened, and this is the only life that they know. I love seeing the more advanced hunter killers. I love seeing those giant Terminators. I love seeing the transport ships, Skynet Command. Like, and like you said, this Mad Max feel without actually trying to rip off Mad Max. It feels like a lived-in world, and I thought it was really good. I did love Christian Bale as John Connor, but his performance just felt like Batman to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe because I love him and I love Batman, I'm okay with my John Connor feeling like Batman to me. But I like that a lot. I love the entire scene with them trying to use the signal to take out Skynet.
The signal was cool.
And then Skynet uses to find their command on the ship and blows them up. I thought that was brilliant. It shows the ingenuity of Skynet. I love all of that stuff. Sam Worthington, I think he's always good, but I don't know if he's ever been great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I would agree with that.
He's a very passable actor. I do feel like he's charismatic, but he feels like Jake Sully in Avatar to me in this movie. He seems like the exact same character.
He's the same character in Clash of the Titans or whatever that movie was.
Even Man on a Ledge, he always just seems like the same guy. He is really great in what is that movie? Hacksaw Ridge. He is really good in Hacksaw Ridge.
I love Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah, but I just feel like he's very generic. Throughout the film, things happen to him that would kill a normal person, and then when you find out at closer to the end that he's actually a Terminator, I thought that was cool. That was a good payoff.
Yeah.
So
Well,
those
because
are,
you're just thinking the whole time, like, well, how is he taking that?
yeah. How
is he fighting so well,
And
too?
why can he get these cars to start after 17 years of
Yeah.
laying... You know what I mean? Like...
he gets punched and then he turns like a Terminator, and you don't pick that up until you watch it the second time. I thought it was really cool. I was surprised that McG was able to pull this off.
Yeah.
So Lola, you said you didn't have that many negatives or any at all?
I don't have that many negatives. I think Moon Bloodgood is a huge negative on the movie. She plays a female resistance fighter who falls in love with Marcus in 11 minutes, maybe, and has the worst scene in the whole movie. There's two that contend for the worst scene in the whole movie, but I honestly think the scene where she makes Marcus cuddle with her around the campfire and tells him how she knows he's a good man. And
She just needs the body heat.
I just need your body
How
heat.
is he giving off body heat?
I mean, he has a flesh and stuff. But she didn't
That's
want
true.
body
Infiltration
heat, man.
units are
she
supposed
wanted
to
to
be-
get that cutie. It's the apocalypse, man. She's gonna get it where she can get it, and he's clean. You know, he's not that dirty. It was a terrible scene. There was no chemistry.
Yeah.
They were trying to set up this idea that later she would save him, even though she knew he was a Terminator. They didn't need that scene. That scene sucked. And it's not really the movie's fault, the second worst scene in the film. They did not have the CGI capabilities yet, but the Arnold's face CGI'd onto the body of a different actor to play the T-800 doesn't look good. But...
At this point in time, anyway.
it doesn't hold up. But I remember the first time I saw it being like, I didn't need that at all.
Yeah.
But they do a good job of immediately burning his face off of his body so that we didn't have to deal with it for much longer. And I thought the end was a little trite with Marcus giving his heart to John Connor. Listen, y'all, they are outside in an apocalyptic wasteland. These are not the conditions to do open heart surgery.
Thank you.
That is dirty. Like,
It
you're
doesn't
going
make
to
any
get a
sense.
staph infection in your brand new heart. And the heart's not a Terminator heart. The heart's the only part of his body that is still human.
Yeah.
So who cares? Like, but other than that, I did actually really enjoy it. It held up way better than I thought.
Yeah.
And I remember liking it when I first saw it. But then I think I let other people whoa. I just had my own Terminator moment where I rebooted slowly in the middle of that sentence. I do think I let other people's opinions sway me to think the movie wasn't that good. And when I watch it again, I was like, nope, I do still like this film. Mm-hmm. And Christian Bale, hot.
I mean, he's Christian Bale. He's great,
Yeah.
man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Brad, what about you? Give me your negatives.
I think that the movie kind of falls apart a little bit in the last 20 minutes, the last half hour. For me, it does have a lot of that CG Arnold moment just fully takes me out of the movie.
Yeah.
I don't like the him sacrificing his heart. I feel like it's just very basic. I do like the visual callbacks of the, like, whenever at the beginning of the movie the lethal injection stuff was going down, and then you see the same type of machinery doing the, like, blood transfusion or whatever at the end of the movie.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
That is really good.
I thought that was a cool part of it. But yeah, the action in the last sequence is good. It's got a couple of twists and turns in there where you don't really know, like, oh, is John Connor gonna survive this or not? But yeah, the CG on Arnold, I mean, it's hard to knock it because it's of the time. De-aging technology hadn't really hit its peak yet. Like, we're in the renaissance of it right now. But yeah, other than that, I don't really have a lot of negatives about Salvation.
Yeah, I don't have that many either.
I'm sorry, that sentence. I don't have a lot of negatives about Salvation.
And I never thought I would ever say that, because the first time I saw Salvation, I thought it was a dumpster fire. I thought it was the worst thing that I've ever seen from the Terminator franchise. I felt like it ruined it, because T2, and I flop back and forth between T2 and Blade Runner as being my favorite movie, but all of that love for the Terminator franchise, I felt like Salvation just kind of ruined it for me. And then when I saw it for this review, I'm like, you know what? It really isn't as bad as I thought it was. The generic military characters, I thought it was really infuriating. Michael Ironside is great, but he is just this generic general guy who is just there to be the opposition for John Connor. It's like, we get it. Just because John Connor is supposed to be the leader of the resistance doesn't mean that every military organization would just hand over power to him. There should be some opposition, but I just felt like it was forced. And it doesn't really work, because in one scene he's like, well, I can only tell you this information on a need-to-know basis, and then literally 10 seconds later he's telling John Connor everything. I'm like, okay, sure, because we needed this scene for forced tension, and it's just ridiculous. The love interest thing with Marcus and the girl, I'm like, why did this need to be in this movie?
Yeah.
Just so we can have hot people that like each other. I just thought
that seems like a total studio call.
Yeah, it just didn't fit.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Like, you already have a love interest because John Connor has his wife. That is the team that you want. These are the leaders of the resistance as we know it. That's what the focus should have been if you wanted to get into the love interest aspect of it. But I guess because Sam Worthington was off on his own, then he had to have his own love interest, whatever. And of course, everything that we've all said, the CGI Arnold. I actually think they just didn't have time to finish it.
Yeah.
Because in 2009, James Cameron is still the executive producer on this movie. Like, he would have the money, he would have the influence to get the people needed to do this kind of stuff. I just feel like the rendering wasn't finished, and I should have done the research before we did this, but it looks to me like it just wasn't finished. Like, I feel like, yes, rendering a person at that time wasn't the best, but that looks really bad.
Yeah,
like,
it looks really
like
bad.
Scorpion King bad.
Yeah.
It just was not... It doesn't look as bad as Scorpion King because at least that room was kind of dark.
That's what I was going to say. Like, they definitely lit it so that you didn't see that they ran out of money on the nose. You know what I'm saying?
But like you said, like, they immediately just burn the flesh off so you can just get to the T-800 like metal body and just finish it off that way. There is a couple callbacks to the first Terminator with John running up the stairs and the Terminators going up the stairs after him in kind of the same way as the T-800 was doing to Sarah in T1. So I thought that was really cool. But yeah, I thought it would have a lot more negatives when we decided we were going to do this.
All did.
And
I think we all sat there surprised that we were enjoying Terminator Salvation.
Yeah.
And it's a good lesson, like, rewatch them. You know what I mean? Like, if there's a film that you really thought sucked, rewatch it, because maybe it didn't. I know I had the pleasure of showing this movie for the first time to my fiance, and he loved it. You know, and so maybe we just, if you give up on the idea that it can be a Terminator movie, whether or not Arnold Schwarzenegger is in it, you can enjoy it. Which may come in handy for Dark Fate when it comes out. Even though Schwarzenegger's in it, we don't know how big of a role he's going to be playing. So
yeah. So I don't think I have anything else to say about Salvation. I think we can just head on over to the dumpster fire of the entire Terminator franchise, and that is Terminator Genisys.
Oh my god, it's so bad.
This movie was directed by Alan Taylor, which doesn't make sense to me that this movie is so terrible.
Who is that?
He did some of the best episodes of Game of Thrones. He's done tons of amazing TV.
Okay.
But yeah, this does not work at all.
Yeah, this feels, again, like a movie that just has a bunch of studio notes. We have to do this. We have to do this. Let's get that dragon lady. She's cool.
You called her Dragon Mom, and I laughed so hard.
Let's get the Dragon Mom lady.
Let's get
She's
Captain
cool.
Boomerang.
Let's get Captain Boomerang, and we'll be fine. But this movie just does not work on any level whatsoever.
I am dying to hear you explain the plot. I'm dying for it.
It took me a while to try to do this, honestly. It had 26% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is too high.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It's 2% higher than the worst movie I've ever experienced, so...
It was made for $155 million, and it made like 440. So they've all made money.
None of them have bombed.
Just not the money that they're looking for, because Terminator should be a lot bigger than it is, which is why I'm crossing my fingers for Dark Fate. So the plot.
Cannot wait.
As John Connor launches the final assault against Skynet in the year 2029, Skynet has sent the T-800 back in time to May 12, 1984 to kill Sarah Connor. While Kyle goes back in time to find Sarah, an unexpected turn of events creates an alternate timeline.
Is it an alternate timeline, though?
That's what every plot
also,
that I've read...
really good job, because was almost cohesive. And nice. I'm going to give you emotional claps. I'm clapping in my heart for you.
Because it is technically a new timeline because of what we know from T1. It all doesn't exist. That is, and I'll get there, and I'm jumping ahead kind of, but that's my biggest negative. Like, it erases everything that could have been, that was good about the Terminator franchise. It erases it all, creates a new timeline, and it gave us this shit to create a new trilogy of films. So I want to get this over with. Let's just get into the positives. Brad, let's start with you. What positives do you have for Terminator Jenny Smith?
Jenny Smith?
I'm going through my notes trying to find anything that... whenever they melted the Terminator, that looked cool.
Your face right now.
That's about the only positive thing that I have written down. I like Matt Smith.
He doesn't do anything.
He doesn't do anything.
Oh, I'm just saying in general I like Matt Smith.
This is just a life comment.
This is just like... that's pretty much it as far as positives that I had to say.
You guys,
about this
there is so
movie.
much strain on Brad's face right now while he's like really hunting for something nice to say.
Yeah, I hated this movie so much.
Lola, do you have any positives?
Jai Courtney's butt.
Is that your only positive?
Yeah, that's the list.
Okay, so I'm surprised because I actually have a couple more positives than you guys.
Of course.
I would expect nothing less.
So my biggest positives is that this film is, as of this date, no longer canon and is a remnant from a deleted timeline.
Yeah.
Which is a line that John Connor says later on in the film. I love it that this film just doesn't exist anymore. Any plans for a trilogy, it's gone. It's never gonna happen. I never have to see Jai Courtney play Kyle Reese ever again.
Oh, God.
I never have to see Emilia Clarke play Sarah Connor ever again. I never see
she
any
was
of that.
so forgettable as Sarah Connor, you couldn't even remember Sarah Connor's name.
Your favorite action hero.
Right?
And they completely desecrated her in this film. They should have killed her with cancer.
I love that we get another glimpse of the war because they've deleted everything else from the other movies. So this is them showing us what the war was like in the final days. So I did think that was really cool.
Why did it look like that? Why was it colored like that? It was like a neon explosion.
I don't know.
The color scheme was a cartoon.
Yeah,
it was
no
reminiscent
longer
of
a
Batman and
dystopian
Robin.
world.
It
yes.
was awful. And Jason Clarke, who plays John Connor in the film, is so unfortunate looking in this film. And he's not... I mean, he's not like the most like attractive man you'll ever see, but he's not an unattractive person.
Yeah.
He's a nice looking gentleman. They made him look like a rabid fox past death in this movie. I don't even know how to explain it. He just looks so bad. The movie immediately starts by saying that Judgment Day was in 1997. Like, they don't even explain what the fuck happened to T3 in the film. Like,
because it's gone.
They just act
it's
like
gone.
T3 didn't happen. Nobody told me that T3 had been, retconned before they... I just was so confused. 4 minutes into the film, I was like, I do not know what is happening.
Yeah, as soon as the Jai Courtney voiceover starts, I had to pause it and take a deep breath. I'm like, all right, let me...
And by 4 minutes into the film, you mean halfway through the opening credits, right? Because the opening credits go on for fucking ever in this movie.
I don't want to see a bunch of kids on a plane while bombs are going off. I don't want to know about Jai Courtney's life. And I can't call him John Connor because he was not playing John Connor.
Kyle Reese, you mean?
Oh, that's what... Exactly.
Yeah.
I see. That's how confusing the
he
whole
wasn't
movie is.
playing John
He
Connor.
would have made it better. He would have made a better John Connor.
Just thinking about this movie is melting my brain.
Yeah.
Well, and the plot for it, I'm going to call it the plot in quotation marks. What's a different word that I can use? Because this movie doesn't have a plot.
The summary.
The summary,
outline.
The outline.
We're supposed to believe... I don't even think we can do this. I don't even know how to talk about this film. A Terminator went back to when Sarah Connor was 9 and protected her from a Terminator that went back and saved her and became her dad. And she calls him Pops. And I'm ending everything as a question because this movie made no sense.
It doesn't at all.
So did that change their future? Is that why in their future, Kyle Reese is a baby when, like, not a baby, but like an 8-year-old when John Connor finds him? Am I just supposed to assume that changed?
Yeah, the film,
I guess because we see that birthday party like
that.
700 times.
Well, and then that birthday party is a new memory that he has because when he's going back into the past for the first time, he hits and I'm going to read this line that I wrote down from Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was exposed to a nexus flow in the quantum magnetic field. That is an explanation for why alternate timelines and memories exist in this film.
Okay.
He says it 4 times.
Do you have any other Arnold lines written down that you can do for us?
My Arnold is not good.
So my other positive is turning John Connor into a Terminator.
Oh.
I thought this was brilliant. Taking the world's savior and turning him into your greatest weapon to make sure that you win, that's absolute genius. It is genius.
It's a good tactic.
Yeah.
But the execution is terrible. It doesn't work. I loved that they turned Arnold into a T-1000 at the end.
What?
That's kind of that's kind of the one thing that I'm sad that's being retconned because of Dark Fate.
I just still don't even understand how that happened. He goes into some goo.
Yeah, the CPU falls into the raw liquid metal and it wrapped around his CPU, and because his CPU has all of his memories and all of his programming, that it just rebooted him and created a version that looks exactly like how he did when he was a teen.
And the worst part is, as shitty as that explanation was, it's better than anything you get in a movie.
It's true.
We're born. Like, get out of here.
And I do like the nanotech T-3000. I feel
it is
like
pretty cool.
The fight with him was good.
Yeah, after you've done the T-1000 with the liquid metal, how can you step that up? How you do it? Nanotech.
Yeah, you watch Iron Man and you go from there.
I thought the nanotech was actually pretty cool, but again, they dropped the ball on absolutely everything in this film. So Lola, let's start with you. Let's hit those negatives. Let's talk about
the movie is the negative. Let me pick my favorite negatives. Her calling the Terminator Pops. Her, in general, them making Skynet into the iCloud. That was weird for me.
I kind of like that.
I understand the societal message they were trying to make, like everyone is attached to their phones, but it was so obviously a societal message, which was what I had a problem with. Like, we get it. Like, a Skynet is going to evolve, and it's always going to happen, but it doesn't make any sense why Skynet would need to go back to 2017 and become the iCloud if you've now like made it so that Judgment Day happened in 1997. Like, the movie gets stuck in its own... Its time travel, like, throws everything off balance.
Because of the new timeline, Judgment Day is technically in 2017. Like they were minutes away from it whenever they got to the future.
Think about it. Like, so in the movie, the timeline is fine in the beginning of it. It negates T3, but it's fine. Judgment Day happened in 1997, which also negates T2. Mm-hmm. So they picked 1997 arbitrarily because one of the writers was like, I think it was 1997. And then as he's going back in time, he hits the nexus flow in the quantum magnetic field. And it gives him false memories of him as a child telling himself that Genisys is Skynet. So when he arrives in 1984, Terminators are waiting to kill him. And you get the most boring T-1000 I've ever had experience in my life. And then Sarah Connor saves him. and tells him, come with me if you want to live, which should have been cool, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And then she has built her own time machine with Pops, and they're going to jump ahead to 1997 to stop the apocalypse. But Jai Courtney, who is not Kyle Reese and never will be, but is in a trench coat, he says, no, it's now in 2017. I know because I have these false memories implanted in my head. And then he takes her hand and does the least seductive thing I've ever seen in my life, which is based on a memory he now has of her telling him to draw a straight line on her head. It's like fucking wild. If anyone is listening to this and they're super confused, welcome to the movie.
Yeah.
And then they show up in 2017, and I loved how they go into this machine naked. And I turned to my fiance and I said, he's got a time travel boner. Because he 100% had a time travel boner this whole time. Like, they're just, like, really intimately holding on to each other naked. And they, like, fall down onto the interstate of L.A.
They get hit by a speeding car. No injuries.
No injuries. Nice butt. No injuries. And then the movie just keeps... Every scene is worse than the scene that you saw before.
Yeah, pretty much.
When John Connor, my third negative, when John Connor shows up in 2017 and is walking them out into a parking lot and refers to Kyle Reese as dad for no apparent reason except that they want to tell Kyle Reese that John Connor is his dad, was the worst delivered line I've ever seen in a movie that led to the worst scene I've ever experienced.
Dad, what do you mean? What?
And she's like, I didn't want to tell him. And it's like, no shit, you shouldn't tell him that. Like, it's weird enough that you know that you're supposed to mate with this person, as Pops kept saying. Like, which was them trying to be funny, but wasn't, I don't know. I'm
old, not obsolete.
Yeah, how many times are they going to say that
4.
in the movie?
It was 4.
Oh my God.
4 times. And I will say, too, like, I don't really appreciate that the Terminator reminded me so much of my own father. Like, I don't want to feel like that about the Terminator. He's a machine.
Like, I get what they were going for. They're trying to do the T2 thing where Sarah Connor says that this Terminator, a killing machine, is the closest thing that will ever come to a father to John Connor. And they're trying to reproduce this over and over. And it's just fucking stupid. And Jai Courtney's naked and Arnold says, like... Kyle Reese, I have seen little to indicate that you are an acceptable mate for Sarah Connor.
He's making a small penis joke? Is that really where we're at?
Yeah.
What's happening, bro?
My brother goes, since when does your father figure out to approve of your fiance's dick size?
Right? What's happening? The movie's trying to be funny, but what's happening?
I'm so glad that's not a thing. You broke me. That's so weird. That's such a weird movie.
I'm like, who wrote that?
No one. 8 people. Like, I felt like every other line of dialogue was a new writer.
Right? It just feels like this movie was all over the place. Like, it's trying to be like this modern action movie, and then it's also trying to be like an action comedy, then it's also trying to be sci-fi, and then like it's also trying to be like T2, and it's trying to show you the horrors of the first Terminator, and it's just not working.
Yeah. No, none of it
just
worked.
Fails on all cylinders. Like, do you have any more negatives?
The movie is so negative. Like,
yeah.
We could go scene by scene through this movie, but who cares? You know what I mean?
We're not going to do that.
We're not going to do that.
Not for this one.
No, I think I really hit it on the head. I think that dad scene was the worst thing I've ever seen. I really, honestly, I would have watched the sequel that was just Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor having a really fun domestic life where, like, he gets a job as a banker. Because I love Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor's love story, maybe my favorite love story.
Really?
Because I'm just an ultra-romantic nerd at my heart, and I love that he loves her that much, that he goes back in the past for her. Anybody who's listened to our Terminator 1 podcast knows how I feel about that. And the fact that they managed to give us that moment where Kyle Reese finds out he is John Connor's father and make it that terrible, I'll never forgive those people for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. This film it's filled with a lot of terrible things, and I'm going to start a very small rant, and I apologize in advance, but this movie has some of the worst casting ever. Emilia Clarke as Sarah Connor. This was a studio thing. Someone said, she's the mother of dragons on Game of Thrones. We don't have to do anything. Everyone will immediately buy in that she's this complete badass as Sarah Connor. We'll give her some guns. We'll make her a great marksman. We'll give her a powerful score every time she shoots a bullet. We'll give her a close-up on her face every time she does something. And we're just supposed to believe that she's a badass. It doesn't work. Jai Courtney plays Kyle Reese as this whiny, bitchy little kid, and it's so annoying. I don't hate Jai Courtney. He's just so boring, and he has no charisma whatsoever, and it just doesn't work. He's fine as Captain Boomerang, because he got to be a crazy Australian. But this is something completely different. Like, how did you see what Michael Biehn did? And of course, I don't want you to do the same thing, but I also want you to elevate the performance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's not a sarcastic jackass, which is what Jai Courtney wanted to do with the role. And I don't need Kyle Reese to be funny. Kyle Reese has been a warrior and a soldier his whole life.
Exactly.
He is back here to protect this woman that he's fallen in love with through the stories her son has told him. He would not be cracking sarcastic jokes all over the place. It's just all Jai Courtney knew to do. Yeah. Probably because it's like his fallback character. You know what I mean? Like I said about Jai Courtney, I've seen him in a lot of stuff where he's good. What you need to do with Jai Courtney is not make him the lead.
Yeah, he's a
great
good
side
character actor. Yeah, for sure. I feel like Matt Smith was a complete waste.
Why was he in the movie?
He's one of my favorite doctors, and in this movie, he's pretty much just there to be a physical form of the greater Skynet. Like, after they, quote-unquote, defeated Skynet downloaded itself into this physical form, and from how it looks, it kind of looks like maybe Matt Smith is also like a T-3000 kind of model thing,
like nanobitey.
And then he turns John Connor into that thing. So he was a complete waste. Again, they completely wipe out everything that we've known about the Terminator franchise. The new T-1000 doesn't look as good as it did in T2, which is absurd because of the technology that we have today. The forced tension between Kyle and Sarah throughout this entire movie. Don't think that me holding on to you naked meant anything, because, well, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Who the fuck cares about any of this?
He doesn't know that you're, like... And also, like, why are you not more excited that this person that you are going to be essentially... like, destiny is going to force you to mate with is that hot. Yeah. It's not going badly for you.
Yeah.
He could have come back looking terrible.
And they also...
could have come back looking like Nick Stahl.
That's so true.
Yeah, what would she have done if that drug-addicted ferret had dropped out of that electric bubble? He's probably very nice looking in real life. I'm saying in that movie, though...
Yeah.
I don't know, because I've only seen him also as, like, the yellow bastard in Sin City.
Oh, God, is that the same? Oh,
that's
Nick Stahl. You need to go be an accountant.
They also found a way to turn J.K. Simmons into a boring
Yes,
character.
Why was he in there?
He's just this bumbling idiot that is a conspiracy theorist because of what he saw. No one respects him, and he's a drunk.
These goddamn time-traveling robots is literally a line that he says in this movie.
He's the only piece of brevity in the whole film that ever works slightly, though. And that's to J.K. Simmons' credit as an actor.
Oh, he's amazing. I love J.K. Simmons.
But, like, still, this movie is just a trash can.
They gave him nothing.
The T-800 smiles throughout the entire movie, which is a callback to a deleted scene from T2 that isn't even in the theatrical cut, and no one would get the reference. He just continues to smile throughout these moments, and it's supposed to be funny, but it's not.
And they never let it go, either. They do it so many times, because like, the audience is going to like this a lot. In the first screening, when no one laughed, why didn't they cut the other 4 times it happens?
I don't know. The pissing match between Kyle and the T-800, where they're loading all of the bullets while they're listening to this 80s music. I'm like, what's happening? It's like Kyle Reese is supposed to impress her robot dad? What's happening?
That sentence.
And Arnold had 30 years to load all of the bullets into those guns. What was he doing? Who wrote this movie? He had 30 years!
And he doesn't sleep.
He doesn't need to sleep. That brings me to my other negative. The T-3000, Jason Clarke, has a line in the movie where he repeats what Kyle Reese says to Sarah in the first movie, where he's like, he's a machine, he can't be bargained with, he can't be reasoned with, and he will not stop until Skynet rules this earth. And I'm like, it's supposed to be a cool callback, but it doesn't work. Like, it's so stupid. And again, back to the Emilia Clarke thing, like, she looks like a super sweet person. Every time I see
you
her
don't have to say that before you knock
interviews, she looks like a very nice person.
Very charming.
I think she is a terrible, boring actress. In Game of Thrones, she has the books and what that character has done to really portray her as the character that she is in Game of Thrones. And she has dragons to back it up. And besides that, the writing is good, and good writing can do everything for a character. But when you don't have good writing, it shows where actors are not good, just like this movie. Brad, what negatives do you have about this film?
So, let's see here. None of the humor worked for me at all. There's a blatant Nike advertisement in the middle of the movie. But it's
supposed to be a callback to the fact that the shoes that Kyle Reese steals in Terminator 1 are Nikes. I caught that too.
It's the same thing,
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
That's to remind you that he's Kyle Reese, because you wouldn't know any other way.
I have a note in here. Wait, is Jai Courtney in this whole movie? And then the next note is Jai Courtney seriously fucking Kyle Reese? The opening credits go on forever in this movie, and it drives me crazy whenever a movie does that. I don't think that the effects had evolved with modern technology, like, at all. It's crazy to me how poor some of it looks. The whole scene where Sarah Connor says "rule this" and shoots the rocket is painful.
Like I said, there's so many scenes where it's like, oh, let's give her a gun and she'll say something cool, and we're supposed to believe that she's this huge badass, and it just doesn't work.
No,
it was just problematic. I think a lot of it was because they wanted to make this really awesome Sarah Connor character and give this movie this really cool female character, and you don't have to try that hard to make the female character cool. Just write them cool lines. Write all the characters in your movies cool lines, and they'll be cool.
Yeah.
When you're trying that hard, it turns into diarrhea.
Pretty much.
The helicopter chase scene. The physics make no sense at all. It looks like dude played Grand Theft Auto 5 and was like, this is how helicopters work. Can it
fall sideways off a building and then right before it hits the ground take back off for the sky?
Yeah.
But it's cool because when you think about it, his son taught him how to fly that helicopter.
I just realized that this movie, really, they did watch a lot of Iron Man.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of these scenes are just Iron Man.
The absolute worst scene in the movie is whenever they get arrested and they're showing their mugshots and Bad Boys from Cops starts playing.
That's another one of those scenes where the T-800 smiles. I'm like, what is happening?
The Cops theme is so crazy.
And what do you know? The Terminator sacrifices himself again. Oh, but wait, no he doesn't, because here he is walking through another time portal and he's now a T-1000. Like, what? The sacrifice means nothing then.
Kyle Reese, protect my Sarah. What?
And then the score swells and it's supposed to be this huge moment.
The score in that movie was so terrible.
Yeah, it's a terrible ripoff of Brad Feidel's gorgeous score from the first two. If you have to
play the Terminator theme every single time you show the Terminator, you are doing some shit wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is relying way too much on nostalgia and overdoing it to the point that it becomes annoying.
Yeah, and the whole movie, they redo the scene where the T-800 walks up to the bikers and tries to take their clothes. They redo the scene where Kyle Reese runs through the department store and steals clothes. They redo so many scenes, and they all fail.
I've been waiting for you.
So much. Yeah, I watched this movie and just was like mad and depressed. I needed ice cream after it.
Yeah.
It's taken me now 4 watches to actually see the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? This movie is good in the sense that it's so terrible that they had to reboot the entire thing.
Yeah.
This is Deadpool in X-Men Origins to create the Deadpool that we get today, which is incredible.
Which
so
I really, really hope that it pays off in Dark Fate. I really, really, really hope it does.
It's Tim Miller.
David Goyer wrote the script for it.
He also wrote the script for Blade Trinity.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
He did do that.
So,
speaking of which, to have a palate cleanser, my brother had never seen Blade 2, and we watched that after watching all of these terrible movies that I've been watching all week. And that movie is so fucking cool. I don't care what anyone says. Blade 2 is the best Blade movie. Guillermo del Toro directs the shit out of it.
Yeah.
It is a badass movie, and I say go and watch that before you watch any of these Terminator movies.
I would love to do a Blade
Salvation
series.
is better than Blade 2, but we can circle back around.
Okay, that would be interesting. I would love to do a Blade series.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun. We can do that one of these days. All right, so now that we've talked about all of these movies, like, how excited are you guys for Terminator Dark Fate?
I don't know. I'm pretty... So the first time I saw the trailer, I was pretty excited about it. And then I've seen it a couple more times since then and not been as excited. I'm super stoked to see Sarah Connor again.
Oh, yeah.
But that's really the only thing that I'm really excited about. I like Mackenzie Davis.
Yeah, I love her.
I'm interested to see what she does.
Yeah.
She does look like she's going to play a super cool character, for sure. Like, I'm excited to see it. I don't know if it's going to suck or not.
Yeah.
Do you think she's from the future?
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah, because she doesn't seem like she's, like, fully a cyborg.
I thought maybe she's not from the future when I was first watching the trailer.
Yeah, I don't know, because obviously she's, like, genetically enhanced, but where did we get the technology to do that if she's not from the future?
Which is a callback to Salvation.
Yeah.
And they did that to him in, like, 2004, 3, something like that.
Yeah. But the fact that Linda Hamilton is coming back for this makes me really excited. The fact that she even liked the script, because she said straight up in an interview that the rest of those movies were terrible. Like, she said straight up she didn't like them. So the fact that she came back, the fact that she came back for this, super excited. She's my favorite action hero. I love Sarah Connor. I can't wait.
Billy Ray is the other screenwriter on it, and I loved Overlord.
Yeah.
I really, really, really liked that movie.
Yeah, I can't wait for Dark Fate. I really hope it sets up a new world, a new sets of movies in the Terminator franchise. I just can't wait.
I said the same thing about Salvation and Genisys, so I'll see.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I'll just see what happens. I'm hopeful though.
Yes, keep that hope alive, James. We count on you for it.
Yeah, James Cameron saying that he's excited about this means nothing, because he did several interviews for Genisys saying, like, yeah, if you love the Terminator franchise, you're gonna love this.
On the back of the DVD, there's a pull quote from James Cameron that says, "You're gonna love this movie." What?
Yeah, it doesn't work at all. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining me for this Terminator franchise review that we've done. We've reviewed all of the movies so far, so go back and listen to our Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 reviews, and stay tuned for all of the other episodes that we do later on. Again, check out our Best One, Worst One podcast, where we talk about, again, all of your favorite actors, directors, and we talk about which one is the best one and the worst one. So again, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you guys next time.